The Xanthari Dominion had waited 11 years for this moment. 11 years of patient scouting, careful planning, and quiet confidence that humanity's homeworld, undefended and unsuspecting, would fall exactly as every other conquered world in their long history of expansion had fallen. When their invasion fleet finally crossed the threshold into Earth's solar system, Supreme Commander Ashu Vel allowed himself the rare luxury of pride. 11 years of preparation, he told his war council, watching the blue and green planet grow larger on his view screen. 11 years and Earth still has no idea we exist. Today that ignorance ends. His fleet, 300 warships strong, advanced through the outer solar system with methodical precision, sensors sweeping for any sign of resistance and finding nothing but silence. Earth's public defense network, modest and clearly designed for minor threats like pirates or debris, offered no indication that the planet suspected anything beyond ordinary security concerns. Ashu's intelligence officer confirmed the assessment with clinical satisfaction. No unusual military activity detected, Commander. Earth's defenses remain exactly as our scouts reported years ago. This will be the cleanest conquest in Dominion history. What Ashu Vel did not know, what 11 years of careful scouting had somehow completely failed to uncover, was that humanity had detected the first Xanthari scout ship almost a decade earlier, a single moment of carelessness by an overconfident empire that assumed a species barely a century into space travel could not possibly notice a cloaked reconnaissance vessel passing through their outer system. Earth's intelligence services had spent every year since that discovery preparing quietly, methodically for exactly this invasion, understanding that the greatest advantage a smaller power could hold against an overwhelming force was the element of complete surprise. Fleet Admiral Diane Osei stood in the command chamber of humanity's most closely guarded secret, a warship built not for open confrontation, but for a single devastating moment of revelation. The vessel had no official name outside her closest command staff. Publicly it did not exist at all. "Report," she said quietly, watching the Xanthari fleet's confident advance on her tactical display. "They still believe we're blind." Her tactical officer nodded, disbelief still evident in his voice despite months of preparing for this exact scenario. "Completely, Admiral. Their formation is exactly what we projected. They have no idea what's waiting for them." For 11 years, since the day humanity first detected Xanthari reconnaissance activity, Earth's governments had cooperated in near total secrecy, funneling resources into a single project designed around one uncomfortable truth their scientists had accepted early in the planning. Earth could not outbuild an empire with centuries of interstellar conquest behind it. What Earth could do, however, was outthink one. The warship Diane commanded was not designed to overpower 300 enemy vessels through brute force. It was designed to end the battle before the Xanthari fleet ever understood a battle had truly begun. Diane had lost people building toward this day. Engineers who worked themselves past exhaustion perfecting technology no one outside a handful of trusted officials even knew existed. A brother, once a pilot in Earth's public defense fleet, who never learned the true reason his sister disappeared from family gatherings for months at a time. She carried that weight quietly, the way soldiers throughout history had always carried the cost of secrets too important to share, even with the people they loved most. Tonight, watching 11 years of sacrifice finally converge on a single decisive moment, she allowed herself to hope it had all been worth it. As the Xanthari Armada crossed into Earth's inner solar system, moving confidently toward orbital position above the planet's capital regions, Ashu Vel's bridge crew began final preparations for what they believed would be a straightforward planetary assault. "Prepare occupation forces," Ashu ordered. "Standard subjugation protocol. We secure orbital dominance first, then move to establish ground presence." His fleet spread into a wide, confident formation around Earth's orbit, 300 warships positioning themselves with the practiced efficiency of an empire that had performed this exact maneuver countless times before against countless other worlds. Diane watched the Xanthari formation settle into place with grim satisfaction, understanding that every ship now surrounding Earth had unknowingly moved into precisely the configuration her defense strategy required. "They're in position," her tactical officer confirmed quietly. "Full orbital deployment. This is it, Admiral." Diane felt the weight of 11 years of secret preparation settle over her, every sleepless night, every difficult decision, every sacrifice made to keep this project hidden from a galaxy that had assumed humanity remained blissfully unaware of its own vulnerability. "Then let's make sure those 11 years meant something," she said quietly. "Bring the array online." Ashu Vel's confident voice filled the Xanthari command channel, addressing Earth's planetary government with the practiced authority of a conqueror who had never once faced meaningful resistance. "This is Supreme Commander Ashu Vel of the Xanthari Dominion," he announced, his translated voice carrying across every human communication network simultaneously. "Your world is now under Dominion control. Surrender immediately, and your species will be permitted to continue existing as a labor resource. Resist, and you will be eliminated entirely." Silence followed his ultimatum, stretching long enough that his tactical officer began to wonder if the transmission had somehow failed to reach its intended recipients. Across Earth, in homes and shelters and quiet family rooms, billions of people heard that ultimatum broadcast on every channel simultaneously, and felt a fear older than any of them, the ancient fear of being small before something vast and merciless. Children asked their parents questions no parent wanted to answer. Somewhere in that frightened silence, humanity waited to learn if 11 years of secrecy had bought them anything at all, or if the ultimatum they had just heard would become the final chapter of their story. Then, calm and unhurried, a single voice responded, carrying none of the fear or desperation Ashu had expected from a species facing sudden, overwhelming invasion. "This is Fleet Admiral Diane Osei, Earth Defense Command," she said. "You crossed into our solar system 11 years after we first detected your scout ships watching us, Supreme Commander. We've had a very long time to prepare for this exact conversation." Ashu's confidence flickered, though he quickly dismissed the unease as empty bravado from a species with no meaningful way to back such a claim. "Empty threats accomplish nothing," he replied. "Your defenses are minimal. Your fleet is negligible. This conversation is already over." "You're right about one thing," Diane said, her voice carrying quiet, devastating certainty. "This conversation is already over. It ended the moment your fleet settled into that formation around our planet." At her signal, humanity's secret warship activated a system 11 years and countless sacrifices in the making, a coordinated energy disruption field calibrated with terrifying precision against every weapon signature and shield frequency the Xanthari Dominion had used across its long history of conquest, information gathered patiently from a decade of careful, hidden observation. Ashu's entire fleet went dark simultaneously, weapon systems failing, shields collapsing, engines stuttering into silence across all 300 vessels at once. Panic exploded across the Xanthari command channel as ship after ship reported catastrophic systems failure with no discernible cause. "Report. What is happening to our fleet?" Ashu demanded, his composed authority collapsing into genuine alarm. His tactical officer's voice trembled with disbelief. "Sir, every ship in the formation has lost primary power simultaneously. We have no weapons, no shields, no maneuvering capability. We're completely defenseless." Ashu stared at his suddenly powerless tactical display, understanding with dawning horror that the conquest he had spent 11 years preparing for had just been rendered irrelevant in a matter of seconds. "You spent 11 years watching us," Diane said, her voice calm despite the magnitude of what her ship had just accomplished. "We spent those same 11 years studying you. Every weapon system, every shield configuration, every technological signature your scouts revealed simply by existing in our solar system. You didn't discover a defenseless world, Supreme Commander. You revealed your entire fleet's vulnerabilities to a species patient enough to catalog every single one of them." Ashu's voice, when he finally found it again, carried none of the arrogant confidence that had defined the conversation's opening moments. "This is impossible," he whispered. "No species develops countermeasures this precise without direct access to our technology." "You gave us that access yourselves," Diane replied. "Every scout ship, every reconnaissance pass, every moment your empire assumed we were too primitive to notice was information we used to build exactly this outcome." She paused, letting the weight of 11 years of patient preparation settle fully across the silent Xanthari fleet drifting powerless above Earth's atmosphere. "You reached our orbit believing you had already won, Supreme Commander. I'm simply here to tell you that you were too late before your fleet ever crossed into this system. Too late the moment you decided humanity wasn't worth watching carefully enough." Ashu Vel sat in stunned silence aboard his powerless flagship, watching Earth's homeworld continue its peaceful rotation below, utterly unaware, or perhaps entirely aware, of exactly how close humanity had come to losing everything, and exactly how thoroughly they had ensured that closeness never mattered. "What happens now?" he finally asked, all pretense of authority gone from his voice. Diane's response carried something unexpected, not triumph but quiet, measured resolve. "Now your fleet drifts here, powerless, until you agree to terms that ensure the Xanthari Dominion never again mistakes this system for an easy conquest. After that, you go home and you make certain every commander in your empire understands exactly what happened here today." Across Earth, the fear that had gripped billions only minutes earlier gave way to something harder to describe, disbelief mixing slowly with a relief too large to fully process all at once. In shelters and homes, strangers embraced each other, uncertain who exactly to thank, only certain that whatever had just happened, it had saved them. Diane's brother, watching the news unfold from a small apartment far from any command center, would not learn the truth about his sister's role for another 2 years, but that night, like billions of others, he simply held his own family close and allowed himself to breathe again. In the days that followed, as diplomatic negotiations began under Earth's careful, deliberate terms, news of the Xanthari Dominion's catastrophic failure spread through channels neither empire fully controlled, reshaping how neighboring civilizations understood humanity's true capabilities. Ashuvel, humbled by a defeat he had never imagined possible, would spend the remainder of his career advising extreme caution toward any species whose true strength remained carefully hidden beneath deliberate silence. He would tell the story for years afterward, always ending it the same way, with the quiet warning that the most dangerous enemy is rarely the loudest one in the room. Aboard her still classified warship, Diane Osei watched the powerless Xanthari fleet begin its slow, humiliated withdrawal, understanding better than anyone that humanity's greatest victory had never required firing a single shot. It had simply required 11 years of patience, sacrifice measured in sleepless nights and missed family dinners, and the quiet certainty that when the moment finally came, being underestimated would matter far more than being outnumbered. She thought of her brother, of the engineers who had given years of their lives to a project the world would never fully know about, and felt for the first time in over a decade, that the weight she had carried alone had finally been set down. Earth was safe, not because humanity had grown louder or stronger than the empires circling it, but because it had learned, patiently and quietly, exactly when silence should end and truth should finally speak.